大家好，欢迎你回到 CHI 213的频道，我是高老师。今天我们要继续学第11课对话1。第11课说什么？好的，跟我说天气。天气。Hey everybody, this is Gao 老师 and welcome back to CHI 213. These pre-class videos, by the way, are designed to help you prepare more effectively and efficiently for class. That way we can spend our valuable class time practicing using our newly studied vocab words and grammar patterns. So let's look now at what's expected of you before our next class session. If you do what the video asks you to do, you will be able to accomplish the following learning objectives. Number 1, you'll be able to read, understand, and pronounce, using correct tones of course, all of the assigned vocab words for next class's in-class quiz. Number 2, you'll be able to read and fully comprehend on your own the textbook dialogue. And number 3, you'll have a basic understanding of the dialogue's main grammar points. And there are 2 that we'll be focusing on here in this pre-class video. 准备好了吗？好的，我们开始吧。Let's begin preparing for the next class session by first listening to the audio of our new vocab words. As you can see on the screen here, we are also going to review the vocab words we covered in the previous pre-class video. As you hear the speaker pronounce these words, please do try your best to mimic their pronunciation out loud.
Lesson 11, Dialogue 1, Vocabulary.
天气
Weather.
比
Comparison marker, to compare.
下雪
To snow.
约
To make an appointment.
公园
Park.
滑冰
To ice skate.
会
Will.
冷
Cold.
刚才
Just now. A moment ago.
网上
On the internet.
预报
To forecast.
更
Even more.
不但而且
Not only, but also.
暖和
Warm.
办
To handle. To do.
Please go back now and listen to this audio at least 2 to 3 more times, repeating out loud what you hear. Now that we've gained some basic familiarity with our new vocab words, it's time to move on and listen to the audio from Lesson 11, Dialogue 1. If you want to follow along in your own textbook, please do turn to page 2.
Lesson 11, Dialogue 1. Tomorrow's weather will be even better.
今天天气比昨天好，不下雪了。
我约了朋友明天去公园滑冰，不知道天气会怎么样，冷不冷？
我刚才看了网上的天气预报，明天天气比今天更好，不但不会下雪，而且会暖和一点。
是吗？太好了。
你约了谁去滑冰？
白英爱
你约了白英爱？可是他今天早上坐飞机去纽约了。
真的啊？那我明天怎么办？
你还是在家看电视吧。
Please go back and listen to this audio at least 2 more times just to make sure you can fully understand what both speakers are saying. As I mentioned in the previous video, Quizlet is another excellent tool you can use to help you remember all of the new vocabulary words we will be learning this semester. All you need to do to start practicing our new vocab words from Lesson 11, Dialogue 1, Part 2 is to scan the QR code on this slide with your smartphone. Have fun. Now let's turn to look at the first key grammar point from the latter half of Lesson 11, Dialogue 1. Let's read this together. 我刚才看了网上的天气预报，明天天气比今天更好，不但不会下雪，而且会暖和一点儿。The grammar point we want to focus on here is this sentence structure, 不但而且. So 不但而且 are conjunctions, meaning not only, but also. One common pattern for using these conjunctions is to put the subject up front, if you only have one subject. And then within the 不但 and 而且 clauses, you can include an adjective or a verb phrase. 好，我们练习一下。这课的语法不但很多，而且很难。So if we look at this sentence here, the subject is the grammar from this lesson. We're going to use 不但 to suggest is not only, right? There's not only a lot of grammar points, 而且很难. It's also difficult. So the grammar from this lesson is not only many, but is also difficult. 中文怎么说？李友不但学中文，而且学日文。So Leo not only studying Chinese, but is also studying Japanese. Now let's take a moment to practice using this new sentence structure, 不但而且. Answer the following questions affirmatively using 不但而且 and add that they possess other qualities or capacities. And these other qualities or capacities are given to you here on the slide. They are the characters in the parentheses. Let's do number 1 together. So the question is, 王鹏帅吗? We want to answer this in the affirmative. So what you want to say is Wang Peng is not only handsome, but is also tall. 中文怎么说? 王鹏不但很帅，而且很高. Now you try to do number 2 and number 3. You may want to pause the video here because I'm about to give away the answers. 第二, the question is, 百英爱写字写得快吗? We could say, 百英爱不但写字写得很快，而且写字写得很漂亮。第三呢? The question is, 李友的衣服好看吗? We could say, 李友的衣服不但很好看，而且很便宜。So hopefully you've been noticing in all of these example sentences that there's only one subject. In number 1, the subject is Wang Peng. In number 2, the subject is Bai Ying'ai. And in number 3, the subject is Leo's clothes. So, what happens when we have 2 subjects? How would we use this grammar pattern? So if the 2 clauses share the same subject, which is what we've been doing, the subject should be placed at the beginning of the first clause. Now if each clause has its own subject, then 不但 should be placed before the first speaker, while 而且 should go right after the second speaker. And importantly, when you have 2 subjects, you can only use 也. You can no longer use 还. So the pattern for this type of sentence would look like this. Let's practice. 不但我哥哥很高，而且我弟弟也很高。If we look at this sentence, you'll notice the first subject, 我哥哥, follows 不但. The second subject, 我弟弟, comes after 而且. And then notice here that we're using 也. You need to use 也 in this type of sentence structure when you have 2 subjects. And don't forget, when you have 2 subjects, you cannot use 还. 中文怎么说? 不但我爸爸很忙，而且我妈妈也很忙。Let's practice. Locate and correct the errors in the following 2 sentences. You may want to pause the video because I'm about to give away the answers. So in the first sentence here, we have 不但王老师会开车，而且李老师还会开车。错误在哪儿？ Yes, hopefully you noticed that they used 还 in this sentence. And remember, when you have two subjects, you must use 也。第二呢？不但王老师会开车，而且李老师会开车。错误在哪儿？ Hopefully you noticed in the second clause here that a character is missing. 也. When each clause has its own subject, 也 cannot be omitted. You need to include it after the second subject. Now let's look at the second key grammar point in the latter half of Lesson 11, Dialogue 1. This is how it appears in your textbook. Let's read it together. 我刚才看了网上的天气预报，明天天气比今天更好，不但不会下雪，而且会暖和一点儿。Here we're going to focus on 一点儿, so it's an adjective plus 一点儿. So this expression is used to mean a little more, as in a little slower or a little cheaper, a little whatever the adjective is that comes before it. And the E here is optional. Let's look at an example. 你今天有很多工作，得晚点儿回家。So here, notice how 一点儿 comes immediately after the adjective 晚, late, right? So here we're simply saying that you have a lot of work tonight, so you will need to go home a little later. 一点儿，晚一点儿。中文怎么说？我妹妹比我姐姐高一点儿。We've seen this sentence structure before, right? In our previous pre-class video, we spent a lot of time looking at this comparative sentence structure using 比. And here we're using our new grammar point, 一点儿. It's coming at the end of the sentence. Why? Because using 一点儿, it always is going to follow the adjective. 高. So here it's 高一点儿。中文怎么说？今天比昨天冷一点儿。Again, we have the adjective followed by 一点儿 to suggest a bit colder. 中文怎么说？ You will need to use the descriptive complement 的 here in this sentence. 老师，请你说话说得慢一点儿。So if your teacher is speaking too quickly, this is a phrase you can use to politely tell your teacher to slow down a bit. 慢 here is the adjective, and it's followed by our new grammar point, 一点儿. Let's practice using this new grammar point. See if you can locate and correct the errors in the following two sentences. You may want to pause the video because I'm about to give away the answers. 第一, so the sentence is 我妹妹比我姐姐一点儿高. Hopefully you notice that 一点儿 here is coming before the adjective. We can't do that. 一点儿 does not precede the adjective. It's always going to come after it. So what we need to do in question number 1 here is we need to move this 一点儿 to the end. It should follow the adjective 高. 第二呢, the sentence is 老师，请你说话说得一点儿慢. Hopefully you noticed that the issue here is similar to question number 1. Again, EDR cannot precede the adjective. It must come after the adjective. So let's take our EDR and move it to the end of the sentence so it follows the adjective. Take a moment now to try to translate the sentences below using EDR where appropriate. Please pause the video because I'm about to give away the answers. 第一，今天比昨天暖和一点儿。Our adjective here is warmer, 暖和. So it comes before EDR. 第二呢，打车比坐地铁慢一点儿。Again, the adjective here is 慢, slower. So it comes before EDR. 第三呢，你可不可以写字写得大一点儿？ Again, our adjective that we're using here is bigger, 大. So we place it right before EDR to suggest a little bigger. For additional explanations and examples of these grammar points, please do reference your integrated Chinese textbook, pages 10 to 11. For those of you interested in learning more about Chinese characters, especially how to write characters using the proper stroke order, I would encourage you to visit the Chinese Learning website. You can find their URL in the description section of this video, or if you prefer, you can just scan the QR code on your screen here using your smartphone. It'll take you to the page where you can look up any single character and get information on how to pronounce it, its meaning, and also the correct stroke order. In fact, it'll walk you through stroke by stroke how to write any character in the dictionary. And finally, once you feel comfortable with all the vocab words, characters, and grammar points from Lesson 11 Dialogue 1, don't forget to take the Lesson 11 Dialogue 1 pre-class practice quiz in Canvas before our next class session. 好的，我们就说到这儿，下次见，再见。